Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Silver the Hedgehog here, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, specifically yesterday, we obviously did already tackle through not one, but two difficulty modes during the forms of Super Monkey Ball 2 Challenge Mode, which there are, well, casual mode, as well as the forms of normal mode. So, overall, despite the fact that we did fell off quite a few times, specifically in casual mode, just because of the forms of alternative level, is obviously kind of difficult at times during the forms in the extra stages department. So, as a result, we actually did those difficulties not so much of an issue. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're about to be able to tackle through Expert mode, because as always, we'll save Master mode for the sake of the forms of next weekend or something relates to that. So either way though, let's get this thing started. So either way, as to be expected about the fact that, much like in Super Monkey Ball 1 Challenge Mode in this particular game, obviously about the fact that we'll tackle through 60 stages all in all, like for instance 50 regular stages, and especially noticeable with 10 extra stages as well. So, but either way though, and this is when the game starts to get a bit more, well, difficult at one point. So either way though, because obviously about the fact that every now and then, well, at least we pretty much already know about the forms of sub-levels in certain capacity, thanks to the forms of the actual story mode as we've already been into. And on top of all that stuff though, about the fact that, well, you probably get the idea of how this is going to turn out to be. So anyway though, today's date of course is the 30th of July today, in this case in 2023 today. I will explain more details about other topics at some point and during later on today, because about the fact that at the moment right now, I'm just gonna have to mainly try to focusing on, you know, just try to able to go as many of those things as possible as far as, you know, articles as far as I'm aware. But either way though, that might well be saying something. So now, as far as I'm aware about the fact that for our final thoughts of July for this year, it's pretty much mixed bag. Although, the only good highlight in terms of the forms of July, during the forms of this year for me though, how the heck? Did I just go through that particular green gold? That's not fair. Although, obviously about the fact that I was trying to aim for the blue gold this time around, because normally on story mode that I've obviously managed able to aim for a green goal because of the forms of that particular mission that I have to able to complete. So either way though, and something tells me about the fact that trying to go after the forms of other warp goals during the forms of an expert level, or specifically expert difficulty, that it gets a bit difficult, mainly because of the forms of, you know, control differences as well as the physics change. So anyway, there we go. Now we actually just somehow completed free fall. I can't even believe I somehow fell off of this particular stage quite a few times. So now let's go ahead and move on to, I almost assumed about the fact that Melting Pot was expecting to have 30 seconds, but as it turns out, we going back to 60 seconds or something. I'm not exactly sure why though. But either way, and I get the strong feeling that this version of Melting Pot is actually a little bit difficult compared to the actual story mode counterpart at this stage, mainly because you have to able to time yourselves in order to able to actually get into the actual moving part itself or something. But regardless of such though, thankfully we've actually got a lot of time, because obviously unlike in not only in Super Monkey Ball 2, but also with the forms of Super Monkey Ball Deluxe as well, they obviously do have 30 seconds at all costs, or to be more specifically, 30 seconds at all times. So, but either way though, yeah, that might be saying something. So, anyway, so, and I think relatively speaking though, I'm not exactly sure if this is possible, but relatively speaking, this will be the final time we're going to be seeing Jungle Island in action, because obviously about the fact that we're getting very close towards the end of this game. Although, relatively speaking though, this is by far the longest video I've ever going to be recorded so far for this particular playthrough so far, mainly because about the fact that, as I said this before, oh man, I really love pulling off some certain shortcuts like this. Let me just save down my replay, just in case I can able to actually just to save up for some compilation videos for its pretty awesome tricks and skills I just somehow performed. But either way though, I suppose we're able to actually in fact, relatively speaking though, about the fact that when it comes to everything else I could possibly explain about this, about the fact that recently, that when it comes to the forms of Sonic Force's Speed Battle, not only does it able to reveal out of nowhere Lego Eggman as playable character, but also we're able to actually get ourselves yet another playable characters based off from the Lego brand, which I'll explain more details about this in a moment. So, but either way, something's worth noting for is about the fact that the only great highlights for the sake of the forms of not only for one game in particular during the forms of, in July month, but also with the forms of, rewatching the Super Mario Bros. Movie again, except this time I finally managed able to experience the actual film in HD from the likes of the Blu-ray version. But as a result of that kind of stuff, though, what I thought was a little bit odd is that I felt it was a little bit odd, potentially, to able to put in a Mario movie on the forms of, well, specifically on the Blu-ray version, that I somehow managed able to test out on, not only on my PlayStation 4, but also on the Xbox One version as well. Although, despite the fact that I have to able to download the Blu-ray player on the actual Xbox One console itself, because obviously without it, then I'll have to able to go into the Microsoft Store. Well, luckily it's for free though, but it seems it's kind of odd to able to actually stick in the actual Nintendo movie on the actual Sony PlayStation system, along with the Microsoft Xbox system, which it's a bit odd though. But at the very least though, about the fact that despite that most of these Nintendo consoles never actually played DVDs and Blu-rays for that matter. Like, I know for a fact that, well, originally that the Wii was supposed to be able to play DVD, but of course that idea has been scrapped. So as a result, instead they managed to be able to convert it into not only plays Wii games, but also with GameCube games as backwards compatibility. So, but either way though, I could possibly understand that. So, but either way, especially noticeable because they do have, the GameCube controller slots as well as the memory card slot as well. Well, to be more specifically, back in during the forms of in the 2000s era, like 2006 all the way up to 2009, when it comes to like certain Nintendo Wii models. So, because unlike in the 2010s era, they managed able to introduce into ourselves the family model, which removes the actual GameCube backwards compatibility function, and on top of that, with Wii Mini, that basically it just removes every single features entirely, including internet connection. Although to be fair, it does have the actual coolest nostalgic throwback to the forms of the Nintendo GameCube, where they have, you know what I'm saying, with the actual clamshell design with all that particular insert the discs in mind. So, but that's saying something, I guess. So, anyways, let's go ahead and tackle for this toggle stage again, and thankfully we somehow succeed, even though despite the fact that I somehow fell off quite a few times because of that. Sometimes the random luck factor to it though, when it comes to likely getting bounced off to the actual, even though it's a bit tricky to explain. So, here we go, on to Pachiko. So in some cases though, that we have to avoid as many of those bumpers as much as we can. What always sucks about the actual bumpers design though is that, well, obviously about the fact that they never actually get themselves their unique themes for the actual bumpers, sadly. But back yourselves can be choosers, I guess. Although, relatively speaking though, about the fact that, well, I got nothing more to add. So, here we go, back onto the forms of the Clock Tower Factory, and during the forms of in the entire Let's Play itself of this game. Except this time we're not going to be going to the actual challenge mode stages, starting with Culmination, all the way up to the Switch Inferno. So either way, and also I'm still very able to actually listen to that classic music in the background this time. So, which, kind of think about it, the last time we actually heard that particular music was back in during the forms of in, also in Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD, which for whatever reason, they somehow managed to use this particular music in the background during the forms of in the actual boss fight in Volcanic Pools. So, yeah, it seems like an odd choice for that particular music choice. So, but usually, relatively speaking though, I'll be able to actually mention more details about that particular topic until for later. So, but either way, anyway though, Oh yeah, something's worth noting about the fact that for those who've relived in the UK, like ourselves included, obviously the next film is going to be releasing and during at some point until tomorrow, which will have to be by the forms of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Somehow, for what I've noticed is about the fact that the reviews has already been up, and as a result, similar to the forms of how it does it on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I'll discuss on that later, and also with the forms of the new Barbie movie, it also receives very well. Like, so far, I think in Rotten Tomatoes website, they did somehow receive the film as in the forms of 97% so far. During the course of the actual Rotten Tomatoes website, when it comes to like critics' reviews. So that seems pretty good though, especially noticeable. It's way up there than the forms of how it does it for those god-awful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live-action movies by Michael Bay, because you know how infamous those movies are. But either way, though, that must have been said something. So, and it's a good thing I've never actually going to be seeing those specific movies to begin with. But that's just because about the fact I've heard horror stories for that, with all this really bad designs, and especially noticeable with that particular familiar Michael Bay, that the genius who ruined the actual Transformers 4 times. So, at least that was back in the past anyway, so... But I digress. So, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is about the fact that, well, happy 20th anniversary of the release of Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, which, while looking back on that particular game, I found that game super fantastic, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, alongside with the forms of Mario Golf World Tour, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour is obviously going to be my second favorite Mario Golf game, basically, because of all that unique character roster, especially noticeable we got ourselves the actual returning characters like Shadow Mario, which I'm still surprised they've never actually get ourselves Shadow Mario again. Well, at least specifically that, well, in the forms of in Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, as well as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, technically we already get the forms of Shadow Mario returning, thanks to the forms of not only Bowser Jr.'s Final Smash, but also with the most of those Koopalings Final Smashes as well. But either way though, despite the fact that you can't play as Shadow Mario either way. So, but either way, yeah, and not only that, about the fact that I feel like that the actual, level layouts, or especially noticeable, the environments during the forms of in Mario Golf Toadstool Tour is actually pretty cool and unique as well. And especially noticeable about the fact that despite it's basically it's almost like, well, I don't know about you, because it's been like quite a few days ago now since I actually have last played Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, basically, because of how the fact that, well, I really do wish if I was going to go back into that game again, just in case I can able to actually spend most of my time just relaxing a little bit. Although, mind you, about the fact that I still haven't exactly completed the Star Tournaments or anything else like that. So, or if not, then I'm also able to actually just to, like, well, practice the game a little bit more longer, so just in case I can able to tackle through some tough parts throughout the game. So, but either way, so let's just go ahead and go into this. Come on! No! I don't want to fall off! Thank goodness for that. Oh yeah, something's worth noting for, with every single bonus stages based off from Super Monkey Ball 2, obviously they did somehow managed able to bring ourselves the actual, you know what I'm saying, the goal itself. So, but either way. However, there are certain bonus stages we won't be able to complete, like for instance in one of those stages based off from Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, that basically does about the fact that it is quite easily the most weirdest levels that we've ever come across into in the actual Super Monkey Ball game history, at least in terms of the classic era of games. So, but then again though, that topic can wait during at some point at a later time. So either way, here we are going back into the forms of the bubbly washing machine again, although it seems kind of strange about the fact that we have to come across into the exactly the same stages as the forms have been story mode, except the fact that I don't think we can probably stumble across into ourselves the bubbly washing machine version of that particular Pistons level, unlike in Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. Then obviously it does manage to include that because of the forms of that particular. Well, I don't know about you, because it's been about quite a few months ago now, right now, since I actually have last played Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, believe it or not. Like, specifically on the Xbox version, just because I think I'm almost finishing up in terms of the actual Xbox version of the game, before I dive right into the not so great PlayStation 2 version, just because of that lower frame rate, as well as the analog stick is a bit too bulky for the game in my opinion, and especially noticeable about the fact that despite it doesn't have the orthogonal pivot points on the actual analog sticks or thumbsticks on the Xbox version. I'm sure there might be some controls out there I could possibly search for, but either way though, that might be saying something, so... And gee, that was actually a close call, because I almost get myself some time over right there, but at least thankfully I did somehow manage to get the goal in time, so... Pretty close call on my part, so... But anyway... Oh yeah, let's talk about the forms of certain characters that brings us into, for the sake of the forms of, well, Sonic Forces Speed Battle. So, yeah, we're able to actually get ourselves not only the LEGO counterpart of Sonic the Hedgehog, but also the LEGO counterpart of Tails, and same applies with Amy Rose as well. So relatively speaking, this is actually technically speaking the second time that we're going to be playing as LEGO Sonic since LEGO Dimensions. So, yeah, it seems kind of interesting. As far as the forms of how LEGO Sonic is going to place out to be, in terms of status, as far as I'm aware, he does have 10 out of 10 for speed and 5 out of 10 for acceleration, and strength is only like 3 out of 10, so yeah, I guess that's pretty obvious. And for LEGO Tails, does have about roughly 5 out of 10 for strength and 8 out of 10 for both speed and acceleration. And finally for LEGO Amy, she's obviously going to get herself the forms of 9 out of 10 for speed and 5 out of 10 for acceleration, and finally 7 out of 10 for strength. So, and as far as I'm aware, in terms of some items they'll brings us into between the forms of LEGO Sonic or anything else like that, I think I somehow lost track of myself about the forms of what items does LEGO Sonic were able to bring us to the table, but I do know for Tails anyway that LEGO Tails were able to have not only the LEGO Motorbug, okay, that's actually interesting, as well as Wind Boost and LEGO Tornado. Okay, that seems like a pretty interesting combination right there. And as far as LEGO Amy, as far as I'm concerned, she obviously got LEGO Lightning, as well as Ice Boost, and finally LEGO Ice Mine. So yeah, I think that's the only items that we might able to consider this. So anywho though, in terms of something else I could possibly explain about this, and that's what appears to be about the fact that somehow that's out of nowhere, that one of those games in particular called Iraden Chronicle 100 Heroes, I apologize for that particular weird pronunciation of that particular game's title, somehow that game is going to be delayed at some point on the second quarter for the likes of next year in 2024. Not exactly sure why that caused the actual delay though, but I suppose that someone out there will obviously will get able to mention more about it during in the later days to come. So, but either way though, despite the fact that I'm probably not going to get the game anyway, because I'm still saving up for that new Princess Peach game, as well as the forms of Luigi's Mansion 2, so we can finally get a chance to able to do our Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion 2 at some point in next year, if possible. So, but either way, just to get this out of the way right now, because obviously we would love to able to actually do the rest of the actual trilogy at long last, when it comes to the forms of the Luigi's Mansion series. So, the only one exception in particular though, and that will have to be by the forms of Luigi's Mansion Arcade, because obviously it requires a lot of emulation work, and on top of that, it's like a bite-sized version of Luigi's Mansion 2, but with the forms of a unique controller you can able to actually interact with, like the actual Poltergust 5000, you can able to actually take control of the actual like suck up ghosts and also just stun them with the actual stun bulb, and you probably name the rest. So, oh, and same applies with the forms of Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS version, because obviously the controls might be felt a bit cumbersome to pull off. In addition to that, the original version of Luigi's Mansion 2, because obviously about the fact that it does require a 3DS capture device to able to make the quality a little bit more top-notch, but who even knows about this at this point, because now the Switch version is now on its way now, so yeah, everything else will be pretty much all settled by then, so... But anywho though, and also, unfortunately though, certain films have been delayed recently thanks to forms of writer's strike. So because of that though, I'm sure we'll let Maxi be able to mention more about it. When it gets closer towards the very end of 2023, then I'm sure he'll be able to actually discuss more details about that particular topic during at some point, especially noticeable if some other characters, or specifically if some other toys who have accidentally set the actual, the wrong release date as far as I'm concerned, then obviously that Maxi will be able to address something for the sake of that particular update. For certain films have been delayed thanks to the forms of that writer's strike. So, but either way, yeah, that could be the reason for it, I guess. So, but anywho though, also another thing I should probably point out as well is that Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 did actually reveal the actual collaboration, but this time around it appears to be by the forms of Fast and Furious. So yeah, that seems kind of random, but I could possibly understand about the forms of some collaborations do manage to able to come into play for time to time. So either way though, that might be saying something, I guess. So, anywho, in terms of everything else I could possibly say about this, is that speaking of Fast and Furious, actually, about the fact that we are able to actually get ourselves a DVD and Blu-ray release date for the likes of Fast 10, and as far as I'm aware, it's going to be releasing on during in September, so I might try to get that at some point, but not now anyway, because obviously I'm still saving up for, you know, the Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and especially noticeable, well, technically we've already pre-ordered Super Mario Bros. Wonder before it actually comes out. Well, what I meant to say is that I can possibly be able to save up for, obviously, Super Mario RPG on the Switch, which we might attempt to do that, possibly during at some point in October, likely also late October, as far as I was going to bring this out, and as far as I'm aware, I'll try to able to pre-order WarioWare Move It at some point in the earliest October month, so... And I think that's about it, basically. So, but either way, though, as far as everything else I could possibly say about this for the most part, well, honestly, guys, that's just why I can usually talk about this. Although, it's nice to be able to actually look back on the forms of Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, because obviously that game is pretty fantastic on the Nintendo GameCube anyway. Even though, despite the fact that unlocking characters is a bit, cumbersome to able to do this. Like, I know for a fact that one of those characters you do need to unlock, well, at least one of them is actually kind of easy. Like, you have to get a certain amount of those birdie badges, which actually unlocks Boo. And on top of that, when it comes to, like, Shadow Mario, as far as I'm aware, you do have to complete every single ring shot challenges in single player, as far as I'm aware. And, when it comes to, like, PD Piranha and Bowser Jr., for PD Piranha, you do need to complete one of those side challenges or something like that, which it can be quite tricky. Well, unless if you know what to do, you should be alright. But as far as the hardest one of the bunch though, Bowser Jr., my god, that character is really tough to unlock, because you do need to complete Birdie Challenge without needing to do Messed Up, or to be more specifically, you have to complete Birdie Challenge, well, specifically you have to go for a marathon of sorts, like all 18 holes for that matter. So, yeah, I could imagine about the fact that that particular side game is actually obviously going to be extremely difficult back then. But either way though, at least luckily, if you do manage to unlock certain characters, you do get the star variants of certain characters, luckily, so... But either way, now I suppose the last thing I should probably explain about this as well, when it comes to something new is happening, that's what appears to be about the fact that it's been about 2 days ago since we've actually got ourselves the next short of any sort, which appears to be The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, and something tells me one of those specials, as far as I'm concerned, is actually by the forms of Steamboat Silly. So as a result, about the fact that, well, it's pretty crazy to be able to see 2 Mickey Mouses in action, at least ever since enjoying the forms of... It does kind of reminds me of the forms of Mickey Mania for a little bit, except the fact that, well, rather than just going through, like, platform to platform or anything else like that, but either way, I haven't exactly seen that yet though, but I will get around to that at some point in the future, but not now, because obviously about the fact that during that some point and doing that today, I am obviously going to be seeing the next film tonight, which as a result, me and Sonic and Shadow, and especially noticeable for Mighty and Ray, are prepared to able to actually just to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So, I'll tell you guys, or should I say, I'll let Ray the Flying Squirrel will able to actually mention more about it. During at some point and during tomorrow for its Super Mario RPG recording session, but either way though, because I am so excited for it, especially noticeable because after all, the good thing about this is though, I've already seen all 6 of those Mission Impossible movies now, so I am honestly gonna be prepared for it, and I'm gonna be hyped for it. Especially noticeable that, despite the fact that it's gonna say part 1, so it's gonna be a 2-parter, similar to the forms of how it does it on most films nowadays, specifically Harry Potter and the Deadly Hallows, and especially noticeable with recently with the Fast 10 saga of any sort in any capacity. But I'm sure about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, we have to wait for another installment of Fast and Furious until in 2025. So yeah, that must have been an awfully long time. So I'm sure we're able to actually just to be participating for the sake of the actual waiting times or something, so. And thank God in Journey Falls within the trampolines stage that we no longer have ourselves a pretty ugly green background on the back portion of the stage. Like, usually in the Super Monkey Ball 2 game, then obviously about the fact that where it does contain a green background somewhere else, that seems kind of off-putting. I'm not exactly sure why that's usually there, but either way though, I'm also doing a massive research on it, until if I decide able to play Super Monkey Ball 2 on my own time, on the GameCube anyway, so I can able to actually easily, manage able to, analysis about the fact that why the green, side of things was there in the trampoline stage, most likely, for not only in story mode, but also on challenge mode as well. So, but either way, yeah, I'm also able to actually do that on my own time for a bit, so. And conveniently enough, this will be the final time we're going to be exploring for the forms of, volcanic magma, because obviously about the fact that after this, well, we're able to actually get into the next bonus stage, which appears to be, well, we're probably not going to mention about this right now, because obviously we need to still focus on this from now on, so, and oh boy, whenever we get to the extra stages when it comes to expert level, oh my god, it will get pretty difficult though, especially noticeable, it does require a lot of those specific stuff you have to pull off, so you'll see why as soon as we're able to actually get into that particular point, and during at some point into the next weekend, so. And this bonus stage is actually pretty cool. It's called Fighters. So basically you do need to activate the switch somewhere. And then if you do activate the switch, those polygon or hologram fighters decide able to fight. Kind of reminds me of the forms of Virtual Fighter kind of vibe or something like that. Or Fighting Vipers or Fighters Mega Mix or something. And basically every time when one of those fighters punch one after the other, basically these bananas or rings, or bananas potentially, did somehow drop from the sky or something like that. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, and here we go back onto the forms of Inside the Whale, and presumably this is actually going to be the final time, or not so much the final time just yet though, because something tells me about the fact that we will come across into Inside the Whale again. At some point in Journey Films, I'll be one of those special modes we can able to actually interact with, so. But that again though, that particular topic can wait, so. But yeah, aside from all that stuff though, I was expecting if I was trying to get myself my Nintendo eShop card later on today, but like I said before, I'm starting able to save up for trying to able to get not only WarioWare Move It, but also Super Mario RPG, along with any other games as well. Still no luck with the forms of Sonic Superstars release date yet though, but I'm sure enough it did still say that it's about to be releasing sometime this year, so. Who knows, is it going to be October just to able to compete the actual competition with Super Mario Bros. Wonder? or perhaps even November or December. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't think there's going to be able to release that in December because the Game Awards is about to be happening during every single Decembers with each and every single year. So that might be seems a little bit more reasonable. So, but either way though, that might have been saying something, so... Oh yeah, in terms of everything else I could possibly explain about this as well, that I've recently finished up with the films of the Sunshine Tour in Mario Kart Tour.
Ready?
And for my final thoughts of the Sunshine Tour, it was okay. I mean, nothing amazing. Well, aside from the fact that, well, the only thing it does tick me off most of the time though, which you probably already expect at this point, that I still managed able to get myself butt kicked by the forms of a lot of computer players. And especially noticeable, it's bad enough they obviously keep on getting some very dang good items into its disposal, and in addition to that, in Bloom Battle's case, my god, I've almost gonna throw my phone to the ground if I somehow almost able to, well, almost gets rage-inducing when it comes to likely trying to aim for first place. It is even worse in online, potentially speaking, during the course of the actual multiplayer on battle mode, because I just keep on getting owned and owned every single time. Especially noticeable because, gee, no wonder why I haven't exactly touched upon multiplayer for some time now in Mario Kart Tour, because obviously that game is going to hate me more, because obviously about the fact that, well, I just have no words to think about it. Although the only good thing about the forms of the Sunshine Tour to me though, is obviously the introduction to able to bring back one of the tracks in particular based off from Mario Kart Super Circuit, which is of course Lakeside Park, which is nice to see that particular track returned after the events in, well, Super Circuit. So, I'm not exactly sure if it's possible it's going to be on the Booster Course Pass or anything. Oh, dang it!
Ready?
Ah, darn you, Gull. Darn you. I hate when that happens right there, because every time, you know, if I get banged onto certain parts of the goal, sometimes I've almost lost control of myself, so... I hate when that happens right there. Oh yeah, and another thing is worth noting for is that recently, yesterday, that me, Shadow, and Sonic, and especially noticeable with Tails and Knuckles essentially as well, we had a lot of fun playing bowling during the other day, and on top of that, it seems about the fact that every time when I win, Shadow just always kicks my back of my head, which as a result, I'm not exactly sure how he does that to me anyway, but I'm sure about the fact that he's probably not going to be using the Chaos Control move anytime soon, so... Anyway, now we've actually finally did not fall off once during the forms of corkscrew level, so... I honestly have no idea why I somehow keep on falling off during the forms of that previous level that we've already done, but either way, I suppose we should... Ah, dang it, I totally forgot about that particular little unexpected movement right there, but luckily we can able to try again. Oh yeah, and another thing as well, about the fact that recently I've still managed to watch some of these The Simpsons episodes still, and what I've noticed is that whenever I see one of those episodes in particular called Sweet and Sour March, in the beginning portion of that particular episode, where basically it's about the fact that all of these characters are trying to able to do a massive formation of the actual tallest pyramid or something like that. And what I've noticed is about the fact that they, one of those characters act out pretty clumsy, like, usually just, it's hard to explain, but they somehow get into the formation of a giant ball, which, get it because of how the fact that, well, I noticed that one of the comments, that whenever I see that particular bit of the ball part in during the forms of that particular episode, that one of the comments did say, like, remember Homer, be the ball. Which, kind of thinking about it though, that particular bit of the actual episode does remind me of that wrecking ball bit from Ants. Except the fact that it only lasted for about a few seconds. So, instead of the forms of almost a minute. So, but either way though, that might be something worth noting for when it comes to able to referencing something else entirely. So there we go, that basically takes care of that particular stage of Twin Basin, but trust me, this is not going to be the final time we're going to be stumbling across into Twin Basin, because oh my god, the next time whenever we get to Twin Basin next time, oh jeez, we might come across into the hardest stage in the entire game, which as a result, because of this very stingy way to able to actually progress. In addition to that though, even it's bad enough if you do manage to activate the jump mode, obviously about the fact it still is tremendously difficult. So but either way though, you'll see why during the future weekends worth noting for. So and here we go on to the air hockey once again, and no matter what though, similar to the defaults of how it does in the story mode, the actual puck bit right there with the goal itself seems to move extremely slow, but except the fact that I have some worse luck elements to this particular stage, because no matter what, how many times I was trying to aim for the goal, but sometimes though, I just keep on getting bad timing and all that stuff. So, but either way, still, that air hockey is pretty difficult. So, but either way, because of the forms off, you need to be so accurate with that particular movement and stuff like that. But just like the forms of how it does it on Twin Basin, this is not going to be the final time we're going to be experiencing air hockey, because obviously about the fact that we will come across into the original counterpart of this particular stage, which you know what this involves around with? Much more faster speed. So because of this though, yeah, I'm still not a big fan of the actual air hockey stage, I'll have to admit though right away, because it does brings me to a lot of frustration involved, and still about the fact that I don't suppose I've actually mentioned about that during the course of in the finale portion of story mode or something like that, which geez, because of how the fact that in World 9's case, I had a really rough time, especially because, luckily enough, I somehow managed able to pull off a nice little shortcut at the end on a flat maze in challenge mode version, because why can't I do that in the first place in story mode? Because I keep falling off so many times with, well, beat. I mean, seriously. But regardless of anything else though, about the fact that in addition we're getting very close towards the end of this playthrough basically, but also about the fact that we're actually getting very close to showing off every single characters as well. The only exception in this inclusion on the other hand, which appears to be the alternative costume variants of certain characters, but I do know for one thing that whenever you do manage able to complete one of those special modes in particular, that you do manage to able to get yourselves a yet another alternative version of II, that basically I'm probably not going to able to mention about this right now, because obviously about the fact that we still on the challenge mode, of course, so. And something's worth noting for is about the fact that, well, as I said before, that I will try to play through marathon mode on my own time for a bit, just in case I can able to complete most of the missions, and you probably name the rest of it though, but still, marathon mode can be quite of a challenge, especially noticeable because if you really want to do the entire marathon mode deathless, well, good luck with that, especially you gotta need it, so. Although luckily you do able to have infinite amount of lives, so there's no penalty if you keep dying a lot, aside from the mission objective has been failed and all that stuff, so. But still, it can be pretty tremendously difficult, especially noticeable there are some more missions that requires to do some very difficult parts in the actual party games mode, like beating certain CPUs on a specific difficulty, like strong or anything else like that. So, but either way, that must have been said something, so. But there we go, folks. We basically now finally complete air hockey now, so we're now moving on to expert extra stages. Now, there was that one in particular stage that somehow it throws me off, like back in the day that is, that I have a lot of PTSD with it. That I probably should able to save that particular topic for later, because obviously the first stage does require you to charge, like meaning about the fact that you need to get a lot of speed and all that stuff in order to able to go from one place to the other. So, but either way though, when you get the hang of it though, it might not be too bad, although it's just about the fact that this particular extra stages on expert mode is really tough, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, as I said before, there are certain stage gimmicks that it does require you to able to actually progress. Although, relatively speaking, about the fact that I think I accidentally managed able to realize that whenever I play this on my own time, specifically on the Switch version, I somehow accidentally skipped one of the levels in particular, Which, because of that though, in this particular stage right there, when I play the stage for the first time, I accidentally go into the green goal instead of the regular goal because I somehow lost balance and all that stuff. But in addition to that though, this also means I somehow skipped one of the levels which I was expecting to go for a full completionist. So but either way though, for Strana anyway, although this won't be the final time, well, this wasn't exactly the only time we're going to be experiencing this stage, because, oh no, we'll come across into that in one of those special modes in particular, and that one is also very difficult if we get to that point, so... But luckily, we did somehow manage to pull off a regular goal instead of the actual warp goal in the green goal anyway, although, relatively speaking, in one of those missions in particular, does requires me to be able to actually activate every single warp goals during the evolves within every single stages in the game, which again is extremely difficult to able to execute for. Although if you do have your jump ability, it won't be so much of an issue, but what if I manage to play the actual like certain stages on my own time, that whenever I do manage to activate the jump mode on my own time, despite the fact that it doesn't allow me to save the actual you know, best times, and especially noticeable in the leaderboards in mind. But that's perfectly fine for me on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions, because I haven't exactly access to certain descriptions for it. But when it comes to everything else though, about the fact that, wow, I just found it incredibly impossible to be able to do Tears level with all that red goal and a green goal respectively, because my god, the controls might be felt a bit on the sensitive side. So because of that though, despite if you do have the actual jump activated, and yeah, it is incredibly tricky, so... But yeah, as I said before about the fact that during the evolves in the expert extra stages is obviously going to be taking place in the majority of the space colony, because obviously, unlike the other difficulties, that, it does have the first half which does features the space colony theme, and on top of that, the second half of the actual extra stages does manage to take place in Dr. Badboon's base. So, you know, you probably name the rest of it, so... But, yeah, in terms of everything else I could possibly explain about this, I think that's as far as I can say about this, I guess. Especially noticeable because despite the fact that I, managed to fell off quite a number of times, I'm not exactly sure how many times I fell off, but luckily I did already complete one of those mission objectives already, so at the very least I don't have to necessarily try to worry about trying to able to go for that stuff again. Unlike the PlayStation 4 version and the Xbox One version, I do need to get around to it though. So yeah, it does take me a bit of some time to able to actually get to one form or another, so... And good news everybody about the fact that Sonic is now incredibly better now, so exponentially he's finally going to be coming back into, well, exponentially speaking, with Sonic Frontiers. So, but either way though, during the forms have been Tuesday, so something's well classified for noticing this, so... Anywho though, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, even though I did say about the fact that there was one in particular issue I have with the forms of this month in particular, when it comes to July itself. That's what have to be about the forms of, well, somehow our weather conditions is pretty bad. As a result, that is definitely the worst part about this particular month for me. Especially noticeable because despite the fact that we did have some good weather conditions sometimes, in July, in the UK anyway, but unfortunately though, we keep on seeing rain, windy, and geez, that's getting old very fast. It's bad enough that we're still on summer after all. I mean, relatively speaking though, maybe they're trying to improve it in August, which I'm hoping that'll be the case, because obviously about the fact that, well, exponentially speaking, I just really want to see some more sunshiny stuff again, but even then though, sometimes you never know, because even then, sometimes the weather conditions are pretty unpredictable, which I suppose about the fact that I keep on saying that, what if I looked upon the actual weather forecast on my own time for a bit, and as a result, it just keeps on feeling like, you know, pretty luck-based, so... And I'm really hoping as well about the fact that I'm hoping I'm not going to be able to actually give up on that stupid tier system in Mario Kart Tour again, because obviously I was so desperately want to get myself Yellow Yoshi as a separate character or something like that. Although, potentially speaking now about the fact that, well, I've already technically got myself Yellow Yoshi, technically, thanks to the forms of the actual golden egg shells and stuff like that, related to Easter and stuff like that. But honestly, folks, about the fact that I just couldn't care less about the forms of that stupid, tier system when it comes to Mario Kart Tour as a game itself. I mean, obviously about the fact that to me, it feels incredibly not only luck-based, but it's also very infamous to me as well, for able to establish the forms of certain other points you do able to occur, for able to actually just try to do pretty well in certain races, but still, it's annoyingly consistent. So, alright, 5 drums, so yeah, I will admit though right away is that giant swing is really difficult because you have to able to time yourselves, well, carefully, so you can able to actually go from one place to the other. So, but either way though, because every single parts of the forms of certain Super Monkey Ball 2 levels are extremely difficult. Well, in the beginning it's not so bad, but until later on though, it gets really tough. Especially noticeable if we get to Master Mode, my god, I might as well die a lot. And even then, that you might able to actually come across into yourselves not only 10 regular monster stages, but also 10 more thanks to the forms of Master Extra stages, which, relatively speaking, for those of you who don't know what Master Extra stages is all about, basically, in order able to actually get to Master Extra stages, and not only in Super Monkey Ball 2, but also in Super Monkey Ball Deluxe as well, meaning about the fact that, well, you have to complete Master level without using a single continue, which it might be pretty easy to do, although it might also be easy to use the actual continue in the first place, because obviously the majority of the Master stages are, you know, extremely tough and difficult. But regardless of such though, I should probably save that particular topic for a later time. Oh, dang it! I was so close! This might take a bit while. Anyway, speaking of Lego actually, that I've noticed about the fact that Lego Dawn sets is about to be coming as well. So, yeah, that must, kind of come out of nowhere. Although exponentially, we've only got about 2 more days to go until not only the more selections of Lego Super Mario sets is going to be on its way, but also with Lego Sonic the Hedgehog set as well. And even then though, we're not exactly sure when does Lego Dawn set is going to be releasing until, but I suppose I should probably find out, or perhaps even maybe that Ray or Sonic were able to mention more about it, or perhaps even maybe Tiana were able to explain more about it, until when she goes back on to Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, after so many fans out there expect us to able to suggest that, or request, to able to actually do this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I guess that's simple in that. Okay, quick air right there, because I somehow forgot to fetch my drink quickly. So, just in case about the fact I don't usually just become extremely exhausted, despite the fact that the weather conditions, as I said before, during the forms of this month is really horrendous so far. So, either way, free throw as the next stage we go into, which homage the forms of something related to basketball. Which I'll admit though, that's actually pretty clever in concept, so... Although, assuming of course, if you activate the jump mode, I don't suppose you're able to actually reach that specific height though, so something worth classifying for noticing that. So, oh god, this level, I remember dreading this stage, especially noticeable because I think Sonic did actually tell me something, for the sake of time, that whenever he experienced this stage for the first time, on Super Monkey Ball 2 most likely, he can never get past this particular stage, back in the old days, especially noticeable because, relatively speaking, the main emphasis on the stage, although relatively speaking, you do need to able to get a lot of usage on the forms of not only slow switch, but also with fast switch as well. And relatively speaking, in order to able to go from one place to the other, is that you have to specifically need to be quick about this, even especially noticeable in the final platform as well, because obviously you need to be so accurate with all that movement and anything else to be more specific. So because of this though, yeah, I seemed able to not realize about the fact that I somehow go into the actual slowest movement, as you can tell, because obviously I didn't exactly paying attention to able to go extremely fast or anything else to be more specific, but either way though, that's saying something, so... in terms of something else I could possibly explain about this as well, honestly guys, I think that's as far as I can talk about for the sake of the forms of how news has been going on at this point, especially noticeable about the fact that I've already explained about quite a stuff that has been happening, and in addition to that, just experience how about the fact that I was pretty dang excited for able to actually finally get a chance to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and on top of that, although originally I was expecting to able to try to go ahead and see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but unfortunately though, that we decided able to choose Mission Impossible instead, mainly because, well, relatively speaking, about the fact that I was expecting to able to actually see Across the Spider-Verse, but I still haven't got around to it, so, but I definitely heard good things about it though, still, but relatively speaking about the fact that, well, yeah, that's what I could really say about it. Oh, and another thing too, they somehow shown us a screenshot of the, another live-action Disney movie adaptation, except this time, it appears to be based off from Snow White, and for what I've seen the image so far, I didn't like it. I honestly did not like it at all, because they did the exactly same system as the forms of how it does it for the Lost Boys, or should I say the Lost Kids, from the likes of Peter Pan and Wendy. And oh god, I can imagine that the thing is gonna screw up again, which as a result, and I think to make matters worse, before I've seen a description for it, it did say about the fact that they won't be able to be including the love interest, and then that is basically a double slap of my face, which as a result, I'm just getting tired of the forms of those specific formula with that live action reboots and stuff like that. I mean, my god, that's getting old very fast, so, but that's just me. This stage is also giving me some, PTSD and stuff like that, which as I said before, because I did have a lot of horror stories with this stage on Super Monkey Ball 2, which again, you have to be so fast on that point, and I highly recommend you do need to activate the slow switch, just in case it should make things a little bit more comfortable for you, but still, it is incredibly difficult. Now I think suffice to say, well, by that time specifically until the next couple of stages later, this might actually be the last time we're going to be seeing certain switches based off from Super Monkey Ball 2 in action. Although, mind you, about the fact that despite it's been a very long while since I actually have last played any other games in the series, it's like Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll, because I still haven't exactly completed every single achievement yet, and on top of that with Super Monkey Ball Banana Splits, because of that particular, I haven't exactly touched upon my PlayStation Vita for some time. And even my Nokia N-Gage as well for, you know, Super Monkey Ball. But either way though, I suppose I should probably point things out right away. I'm not exactly sure when I was gonna do Super Monkey Ball on the N-Gage, because obviously about the fact that it's bad enough I haven't exactly got the actual emulator for the Nokia N-Gage, because it does require a lot of complications around here. Well, usually presumably about the fact that, well, I should probably save that particular topic for a later time, so... Well, this stage is kind of fun. It's basically you go down in this particular spirally slide right there, similar to the forms of how it does in Spiral and Spiral Hard levels respectively on the Super Monkey Ball 1 challenge mode, except the fact that once you get enough speed, there is actually that particular point that you can able to actually go into this particular ramp you can able to trip off from, and here you can able to reach to the center of this particular cone bit right there. So yeah, that level's actually pretty fun, although mind you about the fact that I somehow complete that stage on the first attempt. So alright, we only got 2 stages to go, so I'm hoping this particular video should be over by then. So despite the fact that I accidentally fall off in construction level as far as this is concerned. Although mind you about the fact that I think, kind of think about it, similar to the forms of how it does it on Parallel Large, there's only like 2 regular goals in here, like blue goals specifically, just to ensure about the fact that there won't be any warp goals anytime soon. Although apart from the fact that unlike in Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, where basically about the fact that, well, despite being about the fact that you come across into not only Super Monkey Ball 2 selections of stages, but also with Super Monkey Ball 1 selections of stages as well. I mean, relatively speaking though, everything else will be pretty much seems to be the case, so... Because I will admit though right away about the fact that I did have an easier time with Super Monkey Ball 1 Challenge Mode than the likes of Super Monkey Ball 2 Challenge Mode in this game, just because about the fact that sometimes, you know, as I said before, the physics and momentum is a lot different than the other games. So, I mean, relatively speaking, it's not too bad for the most part. It's just about the fact that sometimes, again, it takes a bit of a while to get used to with the momentum and physics and stuff like that, so... Alright, there we go. So now we move on to the final stage in the forms of Expert difficulty in Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania in Super Monkey Ball 2 Challenge Mode. And that is, of course, Train Worm. So, kind of thinking about it, it feels very similar to air hockey, except now that we now need to worry about the forms of the actual Train Worm itself. Because something tells me about the fact that we need to aim right on the actual front portion of the actual Train Worm, until you're able to actually land on the actual Train Worm itself, and from here you can able to get to the goal straight away. So, at least if I'm assuming so, because it's not possible to able to actually go from either left or right edges, all that specific stuff, unless if you're very lucky. So, but again, it does kind of reminds me of air hockey, except, well, luckily about the fact that, well, assuming of course about the fact that the actual arena itself is rather small, compared to a much more larger scale from the likes of the forms of air hockey, but either way, that's all I can really say about that, so... But, yeah, I think that's as far as I can say for this point, guys. Although, apart from the fact that for one particular point in mind, that when it comes to, as I mentioned this before, I did have a decent time in Mario Kart Tour Sunshine Tour, despite I keep getting owned by computer players and stuff like that. In addition to that, I still despise Battle Mode, because let me tell you, I think the actual, battle theme music is getting to my head at the moment, which as a result, I still really wish if they were able to add a bit of variety when it comes to soundtracks. Like, why can't they just able to actually revisit, or for that matter, bring back the forms of certain musical tracks, based off on the forms of not only Mario Kart Double Dash's battle mode, but also with the forms of, well, Mario Kart DS battle mode music. I mean, that would be pretty amazing, but no, we're gonna have to cope with the forms of only one limited soundtrack, which is of course based off from Mario Kart 8 rendition of Battle Course 1. So even then though, that's kind of honestly feels a bit off-putting in my part, so... But, either way, even though despite the fact that, well, it still is very shocking about the fact I don't suppose we can probably come across into, any battle courses or anything else like that in, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Although, assuming, of course, about the fact that I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen for the likes of the Wave 6, or should I say, the final wave of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in mind for the Booster Course Pass, but... Either way, though, again, we'll save that particular topic until the future, so... Oh, jeez, this stage might take a bit of while to able to complete, especially because, well, usually relatively speaking, though, it's all about just timing, and also you need to get a lot of accuracy for that particular... Just trying to get into the actual slow parts until you get into the actual Train Worm itself, and... Yeah, it does take a bit of a while. Oh, nice! Nice way to end things off. So, there you go. We finally managed to complete Expert Mode. Jeez, a lot of fallouts. Jeez. Anyway, so suffice to say, I think we should probably end things off this point right here. So join me next weekend for more Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. That's what appears to be by the forms of we're going to be tackling through Master Mode in Super Monkey Ball 2 Challenge Mode. So wish me luck. So I'll see you guys next Saturday. Later, fellas.